Just like Soviets have all kinds of T-34s, or Americans that have all kinds of Shermans, Panthers are something similar just in German tank tree. It's a decent medium tank that has very few weaknesses. German research tree has 4 similar Panthers, D, A, G and F, but I chose Panther A for this video because it has few advantages. Unlike previous Panther modification, the A variant already has normal turret rotation speed and is placed at tier 4, which means it can effectively research tier 5 vehicles. Unlike later modifications, it still has lower battle rating 5.7, so you face weaker opponents. Additionally, the maximum speed limit is higher than later variants. But despite few differences, all Panthers are played in a similar way. The default shell for all Panthers is APHE with a very good penetration that at close ranges it can even go through Jumbo's turret mask. Penetration is one of the most important things for any tank, and Panther has it. Yes, there is a catch. Usually the more penetration shell has, the less post-penetration damage it creates. Panther is not an exception. APHE projectile has relatively low amount of explosives, only nearly 30 grams of TNT equivalent, so it doesn't one-shot so often as Soviet or American counterparts, but nevertheless, post-penetration damage of this projectile is sufficient. After all, reload speed of 7.4 seconds with a screw will let you shoot again before enemy get any crew members replaced. Big velocity of the shell of over 900 meters per second will give you a noticeable advantage over opponents by making it easier to aim at distant or quickly moving targets. The only problem could be lightly armored vehicles. This shell has fuse sensitivity of 25mm. That means explosives quite often won't activate when you shoot at vehicles such as M18, which will be one of your most common opponent and biggest headache at these tiers. Starting from Panther A, you can also research APCR projectiles, but increase in penetration is so small that there is no point to sacrifice post-penetration damage that shell with explosives can offer. In most cases, you shouldn't experience need in more penetration anyway, especially considering that APCR penetrates even less than APHE if it hits angled armor. When you face extremely light opponents that are difficult to destroy with main shells, coaxial machine gun will be useful. But keep in mind that it's low caliber, so basically it can only kill crew members that are unprotected at all. That same M18 that won't activate main projectile fuse will have enough armor to withstand this machine gun. It is also quite ineffective against planes because machine gun has the same limits as the main gun. Elevation of 20 degrees, not enough to defend against planes, though usually you fight ground targets, so elevation is within comfortable range. Turret's rotation speed reaches 24 degrees per second, and it's pretty much the same what your opponents have. Gun's depression is somewhere in between Soviet and USA tanks, -8 degrees. Maybe that is not enough to effectively play hull down, but you won't do that anyway as it offers very questionable benefit for Panther. And it's all because of your armor. It can withstand some very serious weapons. The problem is, there is only one armor plate that you can rely on. Front of your hull is protected by 80mm plate. It might not sound like a good protection, but when it's placed at 55 degrees angle, it becomes impenetrable for majority of opponents. Then comes the turret, or the weak spot. On this vehicle it's pretty much the same thing. Frontally it has 100mm thick armor plates, and while it's the thickest armor on this vehicle, majority of opponents can easily penetrate it because it's a straight plate. Some angles can be found only on gun mask, though angles here sometimes work against you by sending enemy's projectile inside the hull through 16mm roof. Unpleasant even if that doesn't happen often. Anyway, it's unlikely that turret will stop enemy projectiles, unless you are lucky and it hits where gun mask overlaps turret's frontal plate. But it's something you cannot control, so make sure that your turret, aka weak spot, is always hidden or at least is difficult to hit. For example, when Panther is on the move and turret is being rotated unpredictably. Or if you keep some distance between you and opponent, as that will make it much harder for enemies to hit your turret, and even if they do, shell might lose enough penetration to not penetrate Panther's turret. While your projectiles are one of the best this tier can offer for long-range engagements. The rest of the tank, and by that I mean everything that is not tank's front, is 40 to 60 mm. Add-on armor somewhat helps to cover your sides, but that is not enough to call them protected. So angling your hull will usually do more harm than good. Because two crew members in hull are quite far from those in turret, there is a high chance to survive even if you get hit in your weak spot. Since driver is still alive, you sometimes can hide behind cover. This way even getting hit in your turret with fat Soviet APHE doesn't always mean end of battle. Because all armor is concentrated where it's needed the most and powerful engine, you shouldn't feel any problems maneuvering around the battlefield. Neutral steering allows you to quickly turn hull while staying in place. Acceleration is also decent. You can reach 39 kph on even ground easily. But for some reason tank doesn't accelerate beyond that unless moving downhill. So despite maximum speed limit is 55 kph, it will still take some time to move around the map. And in most cases that minimizes Panther A advantage against later modifications which have maximum speed lower by 9 kph. All these Panthers suffer when they have to reverse. Sometimes you will want to disengage, and of course you want to keep your well-armored front facing towards enemies. Then 4 kph is all you can reach. That is very slow and probably wouldn't save you when you want to get out of tough situation. Luckily, inability to quickly get behind cover is compensated by ability to carry that cover within a tank. I'm talking about smoke cover. Smoke grenades are launched in a direction of your turret one by one. That allows you to launch additional smoke screen right before the old one starts to dissolve. This way you can stay hidden for quite a long time. That should be enough to repair any damages if you are not getting additional damage while covered in smoke. In arcade, first of all you will notice that you can reach the maximum speed, which is quite high, and that will make you one of the fastest vehicles. You can quickly take cover inside capture points and protect it for the duration of battle. Neutral steering allows to maneuver inside that point when space is limited, so you should have no problems keeping your hull facing towards enemies. Since Panthers has both armor and penetration, it makes a decent vehicle that combines two most important things in this game mode. On the other hand, aiming at your turret weak spot becomes easier for opponents, so cover must be taken at all times. In general, Panther A is comfortable tank. I would rate it 7 overlapping turret masks out of 10. While playing it, you can rely on firepower. It is quite unusual when tank at the same time has very good penetration, some explosives, and its reload speed is within crew replacement duration. In addition to that, mobility is not bad, and even frontal hull plate can reliably ricochet projectiles. The only serious issue tank has is its turret, probably the most difficult part of a tank to hide. That even makes playing hull down ineffective, as that will only hide your hull that is impenetrable in most cases anyway. If hiding your sides is possible by simply turning towards opponents, to hide your turret you are limited to use only tall cover, and anyway must risk every time you peek out to shoot anyway. Nevertheless, it is one of the best vehicles for this battle rating that will have no difficulties even when over-tiered.